I would like to call to order the Maplewood City Council meeting for Tuesday, December 15th via teleconference. The first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a representative from our legal team here.
I see Jackie as an attendee. If you
Yeah.
Bring her.
would like to promote her.
We can promote her, yes.
Hey,
There she
Jackie.
is.
Thank you
Okay.
all. I apologize.
That's good.
Hi, Jackie. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Get the video going. Here we go. I'm here.
Okay, would you like to read us our rights or at least give us this disclaimer regarding the use of teleconferencing?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to put on the record and ask that the minutes reflect that pursuant to the Missouri statute on public records, Zoom conferences or conferences such as this where the council is remote are permissible under Chapter 610 of the Missouri Revised Statutes when there is an emergency. There is presently an emergency given the COVID-19 pandemic, and therefore the City Council, though not physically present in the chambers, are permitted to convene and vote.
Thank you. The next item, number 5, is the approval of the council agenda.
We didn't do a roll call yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Item number 3 is roll call.
Councilmember Crossley?
Here.
Councilmember Fockingham?
Here.
Mayor Greenberg?
Here.
Councilmember Pardini?
Here.
Councilmember Phillips?
Here,
Councilmember Schmidt?
Here.
Councilmember Wood?
Here.
Mayor Greenberg, a quorum is present.
Thank you. Now I'd like to move on to number 5, which is the approval of the council agenda.
Motion to approve.
second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The agenda has been approved. Item number 6 is the first of 2 public forums. Do we have anyone with their hands raised?
Yeah, now if you'd like to speak at the public forum, you can use the raise your hand function and we'll allow you to speak. And as of right now, Mayor, no one has raised their hands.
Okay. And those watching can keep in mind that there will be another public forum at the end of the meeting. We have a chance to address the council if you would like to. Item number 7 are announcements.
I have a couple. Congrats to the Side Project Brewing as they have been named the 2020 Business of the Year by the Chamber Committee and the public. And the other thing is that Santa will be visiting every street in Maplewood this year by way of the fire truck. This will be over 2 different nights. Saturday night, December 19th, all streets on the north side of Manchester will be visited, and on December 20th, will be on the south side of Manchester, leaving the firehouse at 5:15. And everyone is asked to watch from their own porch and not together and congregate. That's why they're trying to get through every street. And the routes are on the Facebook page for the city. So, and just a reminder to myself and to everybody else that the police coat drive that we talked about last time is still going on till the end of December. So if you have
Okay.
something,
And I'm here to report that there was such a large pile of coats and nice winter clothes when I walked down there today that it was literally overflowing. An officer was out picking them up, and that was basically just from this weekend. So it
great.
seems like they're doing a really good job with that.
That's good.
Good. Are there any other announcements? If not, I'll move on to the approval of the December 8th, 2020 City Council meeting minutes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any changes, revisions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting minutes have been approved. Item number 9 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Maplewood, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to purchase a 2020 heavy-duty 3/4-ton Chevrolet Silverado truck, $40,671.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Crossley,
Yes.
Councilmember Fockingham,
Yes.
Mayor Greenberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Pardini,
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips,
Yes.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
Resolution 20-41 is approved.
Thank you. Item number 10 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Maplewood, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to accept the proposal from Tech Electronics in the amount of $19,610 for the access control system project.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Fockingham,
Yes.
Mayor Greenberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Pardini,
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips,
Yes.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Crossley.
Yes.
Resolution 20-42 is approved.
Thank you. Item number 11 is Bill 6152, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maplewood, Missouri, appropriating transferring $6,537 from the unappropriated fund balance of the Cent Capital Improvements Fund to account 2400-70010 capital outlay and appropriating transferring $13,074 from the unappropriated fund balance of the Proposition P Fund to account 4,000-70010 capital outlay.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any questions? This is the final reading, so we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Mayor Greenberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Pardini,
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips,
Yes.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Crossley,
Yes.
Councilmember Fockingham.
Yes.
Bill 6152 becomes ordinance number 5947.
Thank you. Item number 12 is Bill 6153, an ordinance approving an amended and restated plan for the industrial development project for Tech Electronics Incorporated, approving amendments to certain agreements in connection with the amended and restated plan and authorizing the city to take certain actions in furtherance of the amended and restated plan.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? This is the final reading, so we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pardini,
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips,
Yes.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Crossley,
Yes.
Councilmember Fockingham,
Yes.
Mayor Greenberg.
Yes.
Bill 6153 becomes ordinance number 5948.
Thank you. Item number 13 is Bill 6154, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maplewood, Missouri, amending Ordinance 5573 of the Maplewood Code of Ordinances as amended by amending Chapter 50, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Section 50-203, Stop Intersection Signs by adding stop signs for northbound and southbound Sutton Boulevard traffic at the intersection of Sutton Boulevard and Richmond Place.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any questions? This is also a final reading, so we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Phillips,
Yes.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Crossley,
Yes.
Councilmember Fockingham,
Yes.
Mayor Greenberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Pardini.
Yes.
Bill 6154 becomes ordinance number 5949.
Thank you. Item number 14 is a discussion of the community survey process. Is there someone that would like to start?
I'm happy to.
Okay.
I felt that the NRC proposal was really detailed and had a lot of just solid information. In particular, I liked the availability of having a survey in English and Spanish. I'm not totally sure of what the like non-English need in Maplewood is, but I like the consideration in that. I liked that they, have a specific survey that's connected to broader organizations, and I think that could give us an interesting opportunity to benchmark. And I liked the layout of like the whole process felt really like baked in and comprehensive in that proposal, and that wasn't something I necessarily felt in the other ones. But those were my gut reactions to the proposals, and my favorite one.
Okay. Thank you. Who else would like to comment?
Well, I would like to say that I did like the NRC one as well. And I think that the other one, ETC, was really good. They gave us a lot of information. And I like the way it was all set up too. And I like the fact that they gave us samplings of the surveys that they had done and that they had done many of them in Missouri, including Clayton, University City, Creve Coeur, Kirkwood, De Pere, just lots of them. So I liked them very well as well. But I also liked the NRC, and it did have some features that I thought were good. One of them that I thought was kind of interesting, and it just might be a small thing, but when they were sending these out to each household, they were saying that they would recommend that any person 18 or over who had the last birthday would be the one to complete the survey. Now, I don't know, I just thought that was kind of a different way to try to get different people within a household, not just one person always doing it. So, but I'm sure that both of them would do, something like that. Both of them, I think, would give us, those two were my favorite. I didn't think Zillow did a very good job of presenting. So I would be happy probably with either ETC or NRC. I think they both could give us what we are asking for.
Okay. Who would like to go next?
I also liked the benchmarking that NRC did. I like that they're an ICMA partner and therefore have a lot of municipal experience. And I really liked their combined survey results between the business survey and the citizen survey. I don't remember seeing if ETC did that. So initially I was thinking that ETC was kind of what I was leaning towards because of the, as Karen mentioned, their experience with doing Clayton, Creve Coeur, Kirkwood, et cetera. And I also liked ETC's GIS mapping.
Yeah, I did too.
So to me, I like both of them for different reasons.
With regards to the business survey portion of it, I know that NRC was wanting to charge $14,000 and
Yeah.
ETC was at $4,000 for that scope of work.
Yeah.
I had a question about, I found that the, is it the NRC? Is that, yeah. I found their pricing pages to be very confusing. Like page 12
I
and
will
13.
agree.
I am
I
not
will
clear on
agree.
the total cost.
Well, we know the
Seems
range
like-
is 18 to 24,000 for them, but yeah, I don't know exactly. And that doesn't
And
include
is
the,
that,
But then it seemed like there were
Where-
things maybe
where's the-
included in the other one that cost extra on that. That was going to take some sifting.
well,
Like the
Barry, can you pull up page 13 on the NRC one?
Let me get to that.
While we're looking that up, Anthony, did we budget a certain amount for this? And what was that amount?
We did, I don't know the amount off the top of my head, and I don't have access. I thought it was right around 30,000, 20,000, but I'll find out and I'll email it tomorrow.
Well, my question was, it seems like NRC didn't size the business survey. They just gave us the price for like their regular interviewing 2,000 people survey, but they recognized we wouldn't need that many. So I guess I would be curious if they would provide a lower cost since we won't need that many.
Yeah, and I think there's a list of questions that we should probably generate
Yeah.
and ask each of these vendors before we make some decisions. For instance, I know that ETC, they talked more about their dashboard and they showed a lot of their graphics and demographics. And we know that NRC does that. We just don't know how they do it or, how that compares. I'd like some examples from them of, and I'd like for ETC to talk a little bit more about their dashboard process so that we can get this information integrated with our website.
I had a couple of questions if you're talking about like questions for both of them. I'm curious if there are any changes to costs because of the time elapsed between when they submitted these and now, or changes to the cost or the proposal itself because of COVID. I'm also curious if any of them have any experience surrounding questions surrounding equity issues in their audits. And then also if their experience in municipalities with a high level of renters, because I think I'd like to know they both provided how they accessed the people to survey. And one thing I liked about ETC is I think they have a guarantee that they will, it says all the projects collected data from normally, wait, that's not their guarantee. Where's their guarantee? They had a guarantee that their sample will be representative of the demographics of our community, which I liked. I also liked they offered a lot of local municipal experience. So they're familiar with the area geographically, I guess, and how Maplewood fits into a larger region. I didn't see, did NRC give any examples of local to the St. Louis region? Did anyone notice?
I didn't think they did.
All right. They say they have a lot of municipal experience, so that's good.
They did mention that they do benchmarking, but
Yeah.
I don't know that they have
But I thought ETC does benchmarking too, right?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And they both
Yeah.
benchmark, and actually I liked ETC's seem to include benchmarking against the state and the national.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one was only national, you had to pay extra for local, I noticed. But then they also offered you free access to like a dashboard that you can access anytime, it sounded like. Or
Was that free? I couldn't
that
remember. Is
Polko?
that free? Yeah. Was that free? Do you remember?
It did say they offer you free access to Polko, which is their
Okay.
online
Okay.
component. So,
Councilmember Crossley asked about the budgeted amount. It's $40,000.
okay.
Can I clarify something? Somebody asked me this today. We're not doing the business survey at this point. We're just doing community. Is that correct at this point? I think that's what we decided, that we were.
I thought we were doing both, but
Oh, we were doing
Okay,
both.
well, we are doing both? Okay.
There were
would like to see-
discussions and it kind of went back and forth and I looked through the notes. And then again, it may have changed, but I think they were wondering about COVID with the business, wondering if that would be just 100% what you got. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think-
where I'm at. That's where I was last. I didn't hear anything after that.
and we would get into this more when we pick someone and figure out the questions, but I almost feel like we have to break it into sort of like prior to COVID, like, or more, you know, like COVID specific, and then sort of how things were before COVID, because I think there's a,
Mhm.
it's in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so dominating to all the businesses right
Yeah.
now, especially our restaurants, but yeah, I
Yeah.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And to keep in mind, if you guys, it sounds like there's, you know, clearly two options. It sounds like there's a general consensus. Those are the two options. If we need to, you know, what's nice about Zoom is if you guys have questions, there's nothing wrong with interviewing either of these people. I can ask about the COVID rates. My understanding, I would assume it'd probably be the similar, but I can find out since it's been a while. I can touch base with them. And like I said, if we want to interview them at that time, I can even indicate they're going to want to know to prepare what your background is per Councilmember Schmidt with equity and renters. We have 50% of our homes are rentals. Have you done any surveys like that? I'm just letting the council know if you want me to arrange this, I can easily do this
Mhm.
if it helps, because it sounds like everyone likes two.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Yes,
think that's a good idea.
Would we like to do that at a work session before our next council meeting?
that's fine with me.
Aside from the three comments Councilmember Schmidt asked, which again, I said was COVID, is the pricing the same, equity and renter experience. Is there anything else I could say? These are some of the questions coming your way because I'd like them both to be prepared.
Yeah.
I would like, go ahead, Sarah.
Thanks. If we could see if they've made any specific survey questions related to COVID, I think that would be interesting for us to consider.
No
And
problem.
that was my only one. Thank you.
Okay.
And what I was wondering is if we could get some, I think ETC did a good job of providing us with samples of their reports. I would like to see what, maybe one or two examples from NRC also.
So I will say in the document, there were clickable links that took you to websites.
Okay.
Now, it was a lot of work to try to figure out. It would have been nice to receive a packet of like, this is what we give you, because there were like 4 different things and I was very confused by like, what is standard, you know what I mean? So maybe it'd be worth it to ask them to send us like what the standard package looks like.
Yeah.
What they provide. Because I would also like to see, I thought it was very nice that ETC had their survey questions in there. It was nice to see things they asked. So, but when I clicked on the reports for NRC,
Yeah.
I didn't see questions, but it was a little overwhelming. So I don't know.
I didn't see questions either. And I
From NRC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For business and community.
They just said that they have a basic standard thing, but I didn't know what the questions were on their basic.
Well, it seems like they have a trademarked product, so I don't know.
Mm.
I was a little confused by that too. So
Yeah, are
They
they
don't share
using?
it.
Well,
They're
we
using-
know that there's hundreds of thousands of people that have looked at their questions.
Right.
Yeah, so I can't imagine that they would be that
I would
secretive.
hope not.
And Anthony, I would just add that I'd like both of them to be asked how they're going to guarantee good sampling from our rent, from our rental stock. And I want to see some of their GIS data too as well, especially from ETC. I'm interested in that only because if we can integrate some of that somewhere, they're pretty easy to read. For citizens and businesses alike. So that's all I would have to add. Everything else was on par.
Okay, and just to make sure I'm on the same page with the council, we're thinking maybe 6 o'clock for one and maybe 7 o'clock for the other. Or do we want to go?
I don't think we need more time than that.
Do we want to go?
We-
Do we want to go
I mean-
6 and then 6:50 so that way we can wrap up by 7:20, so we don't
We
run
didn't
into situation.
schedule a
Can we
work
do-
session for something else, did we? On
We
that?
scheduled it for the second meeting
Okay.
of January, but we don't have one for
January.
the first meeting.
Okay.
I mean, do we need more than 30 minutes with each one?
I wouldn't think so.
So
I-
We could
could
probably
we,
do 6 and 6:45 or something.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
And
And that would be on the 12th, on January 12th.
so, we'll ask them to clarify their fee schedule so we can compare apples to apples. The schedules were very close, 12 to 13 weeks, and we want to make sure that with any changes in their process that they can, see if not only the fee changes, but if the schedule changes also. And you clarify the integration of the business survey. But we definitely want them to give us an idea of what type of questions that they ask regarding equity issues. Let's see, questions about their dashboard, what it looks like. Did you see the clickable links had the results? Did you see examples of how the dashboard would operate?
So I guess I'm a little confused by what dashboard meant in each of them. So maybe someone else, I mean, to me, it's like an interactive tool I can look at and see stuff,
Right.
whatever, but I don't feel like that's how they refer to it. So maybe I'm not.
I think in the NRC dashboard, like just means the data, like the consolidated single pager of the data.
Yeah. That's what it's,
So I don't think it's an interactive dashboard.
and neither of
would
them
like-
appears to be something like you put on your website as like a tool. It's like more of information piece, right? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yes.
that's-
Mhm.
I could just tell them, please be prepared to discuss your dashboard and how it would benefit the community. Is this something, just explain it in detail, provide some examples of how this works. Is that okay?
I would assume that they could give us an example of a community that has an active dashboard, and we could just go there and see how it's put together, and we could do that beforehand.
I just want to say it so I don't forget it. This would come later, but I did like the concept in NRC where they suggested trying the survey out on like people to like read through and see if it made sense to them. I just thought that was a really smart concept. Like something maybe you don't think about is actually having someone test it out before you administer it. Like someone who lives here. So just wanted to put that in everyone's ear so that we don't forget that when we.
I did like the fact that NRC had some FAQs at the end there to help explain further some of their processes. I'm curious about the next steps portion. NRC wants to charge $5,600 for that.
Mhm.
I didn't see that in the ETC. I'd like to, I'm not sure what that would look like, in terms of guiding us and to take the data that we receive and incorporate it, implement it in some manner.
Well, I think the ETC includes sort of the in-person visit and I guess analysis as part of their base pricing, but NRC did not. So the in-person visit and that sort of next steps training and analysis and thing was something that they differentiated in their pricing.
And I
It'd probably
think
be-
it's, oh, go ahead.
It'd probably be beneficial to have, a compiled list of questions before we talk to
Yeah,
them.
no, I'll send,
Yes.
I'm going to compile based on this and then I'll forward it out. But I think what I put down in my list is overall cost. We're trying to get an overall picture because sometimes it's not necessarily apples to apples, but we're trying to figure out what this is going to cost from this to get to A to Z, which means basically we've had all of our training, we've had all of our insight visits. Because that is tough sometimes with these proposals. Some people kind of lump costs into one, so you're not always comparing apples to apples. But I'll get you guys all the questions. I have 14 so far. Some of them are redundant. but I'll get those out to you and then I'll send them to those firms. The only thing we need soon is some examples of the dashboard so we can review those before we meet on the 12th. Does anyone else have any other comments they want me to ask? If something comes up when I send them out, just add to it.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
I don't know the value of the subscription service. I don't think we need to update it on an annual basis, especially if it was extremely expensive too. So unless someone sees value there, I don't think we need to necessarily ask questions about that. So any other comments or questions with regards to the community survey process? Okay, then let's move on to item number 15, which is the racial equity discussion. And at this point, we were looking at putting out a request for proposals for the work. And and we have several examples. So who would like to start that discussion?
Well, I sent out an email with the bullet points that should probably be included in our RFP. I'm not going to say they're standard, but they're all pretty close to each other, with a few exceptions for bigger cities. But I think that, like I had mentioned before, really it's just we need to get the process started,
I thought that your list was pretty good. Was excellent. The City of Columbia RFP format looks like something where we could just go ahead and change, for the most part, change the name of the city. But when we get down to the scope of work, item number 2, I think that's where we should insert the scope that you delineated, Sean. The required proposal submittals, I think, is probably pretty good, but the evaluation criteria, we might want to take a look at that and see how we're going to assign points and priorities for different portions of their proposals.
So I had some, can I just add some thoughts on the scope of work? I think this captures like the breadth of all that we need to do, but is actually consists of work that would be better split into 2 separate scopes of work. I think it's pretty aggressive. I think that the discussions with panels of stakeholders, creating a training plan for capacity building and skill building, and creating a policy for racial equity are doable. I thought that last week when we discussed this, I'm open to combining an equity audit into this scope of work, but I think that the creating a racial equity plan and creating performance measures for action items and commitment dates, a racial equity plan, like creating the racial equity plan, is like a large undertaking. And I think that we should get through getting to it, the training, the policy, maybe the audit, and that a racial equity plan is, we have to sequence that with some of the other work that we're doing as a council, such as onboarding a new city manager, doing a visioning, some sort of visioning process with the city manager, and that it's would be better broken into 2.
I think that sounds good. Maybe it would benefit us because it seems like the audit you could put with either. So would it be possible to ask them to price out like an audit piece separately so we could, and like what's involved in that, so we can determine if we want to put it with this or wait and put it with the next part? Does that make sense?
I mean, my understanding of RFPs, which I do for work, we can ask for almost whatever we want. And if that's something we want to include in in our proposal contents, your pricing proposal will look like this and include this separate piece. So from a procedure process standpoint, I don't see why we couldn't do that. And then also just make it clear in the RFP that the city may or may not elect to engage this service in the final contract.
It's very common.
Do you guys think that makes sense from our standpoint of how we?
I think it does. Because it's, I mean, I think it's something we all know we want, and that would give us the option to decide if it's right to combine here or not.
Could even do the whole thing sort of modularly. I didn't say that right the second time either. Apologize.
We knew what you meant.
Thank you for keeping up. But you could almost ask for it broken down in that way, and just so we get. It wouldn't make sense to pick different contractors for different pieces, but I think it could help us price out and time out the work that we're doing too.
So all of it, you mean? All of Sean's points? Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And what's involved, they could explain to us what's involved in each piece.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And then
Sean-
from here, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, Sean, can you, I guess, clarify a little bit the point of, or your bullet point about help create a citywide plan for racial equity with 5-year objectives and action steps? When you were collating all of our thoughts, what was that? Because it sounds like Eleanor's thinking that that's something much larger. And when I read that, I didn't see that as something maybe quite as large as what Eleanor's thinking. Oh, you're muted or somehow. We can't hear you.
I just have a question. Sean, when did you send that? I did not get what you're talking about. I'm
Yeah,
looking-
so, I sent a PDF.
but when
I
did
will,
you
I'll
actually-
send it again to you.
Okay, 'cause I sure don't, I've looked, I can't find it.
Okay, I'll
Just
send it to
sent it
you.
at 5:45 tonight, Karen.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm looking with my phone to see if I got anything from Sean or anybody.
Erin, you may need to get your email checked because you didn't get that packet last week either, did you?
Well, I got it when Sean sent it to me.
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't get the first time. So maybe check in.
Yeah, because I've been getting everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it to you here in just a
Okay.
second, but
Okay,
what I put, the reason why I put this is I was reading through Reels, stuff on the National League of Cities site
Mhm.
and a couple of other sites. They all really had in some part there to create a 5-year plan. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 5-year plan. It could be a 3-year plan, but you want to get to a point after you've gone through the training, capacity building, some policy changes, those kinds of things. Great. Now we kind of understand what it means to be or begin work on this multicultural, anti-racist kind of project that we're doing. Now let's get a plan, but let's make it citywide. Let's involve not only us, but the business, the Chamber of Commerce, the school. Let's work with the school, see where they're at, those kinds of things. And I think that's more what I was talking about when I meant a citywide plan. It's just more of an inclusive document for the whole community rather than just the city, so to speak. Narrowly defined as the city of Maplewood and the administration. So that's what I meant there. And, we can add the audit to it. And I really like the modular approach that Sarah had brought up, because you're right. It's going to be very easy to get overwhelmed. And I really do want to do it the right way. And I think if we do take it a step at a time, or a module at a time, so to speak, it'll make it, I think, that much more effective.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of like the natural step after the audit is a plan, right? We get this audit, we get recommendations. Oftentimes, an audit may include some sort of guidance on like immediate things to implement, short, medium, and long-term things. But then we then need a plan to actually get that across the finish line. And I think just sort of thinking through more of the modular idea, there is a benefit to engaging one contractor for this entire process. And if we do it modularly, we may have an opportunity, depending on what our city's purchasing guidelines are, to engage in a longer term contract rather than doing one RFP for part of the services and then a second RFP for another part of the services. And then, oh, we identified something else. Let's do a third RFP. So eliminating some of that process and getting it captured in response might be a really good long-term move for us.
Yeah, and I'll just, Anthony can jump in here, but as long as you don't bind another council to contract, you're fine. So typically, like we do for garbage collection here, is we look at a 5-year agreement on pricing, but that contract is up every year, so to speak, only because you legally can't bind a future council to a contract that you created. So, Anthony, am I right on that?
They're usually 5 1-year agreements.
There you go. So, and I'm sure they'd have no problem with that.
So I see a lot of value in the modular approach. Do you all have a sense of what kind of timelines you're thinking of or like a time frame to capture the entire process?
And I can speak to sort of the timing since I did that piece. I mean, we sort of have 2 timelines. One is like how long we want the RFP, when we want to start, how long we want it open, which if we're going to this approach, I think we want a little bit longer, but the longer ends, because that's more work that maybe people aren't used to doing to prepare it. The second piece is sort of, if you'll see in the examples I gave, I mean, it's very difficult to predict with any accuracy sort of what the timeline will look like since we don't even know everything involved, but you see as like general benchmarks, like we would like to begin training, this many weeks after we sign a contract with you. We generally want this piece to take this long. Now we've expanded it. So I think we'll have to, like Eleanor's getting to get to each piece and kind of see how long we want, we anticipate that taking.
So yeah, and what I've heard from other, colleagues who work on this with both private businesses and also nonprofits is that these pieces can, like it might take a year to do an audit, and then the audit might reveal some information, patterns, culture, practices, outcomes that lead to a period of time of very uncomfortable conversations and internal strife. And then you have it's a process to work through that and start creating your plan. And so this could be a 2 to 5 year process.
Oh, I mean, I assume it will be. I mean,
okay.
I think that if we're doing the whole thing, so I think as we break out the modules, maybe once we see those and what's involved, I think it's hard. I mean, we can set sort of a general expectation, but it's hard to really know until they tell us, the work involved, and then factor in the things you're talking about, like conversations around it, or,
And they should have a lot of experience in managing and facilitating these types of processes. But I wanted to make sure we weren't thinking that this is like, we could do all of this in 2 years. Or
No, it would take
No.
longer than
Okay.
that. Yeah.
And I also think there's a benefit for something that is longer, right? Like a rushed project on a topic like this that's relatively unfamiliar to this body who's done a lot of training comparative to, where the council was a year or 2 ago. There's a benefit for sort of like the long-term growth and the long-term embrace of like this shift if we have someone to facilitate that. over a longer period of time than just a year.
Yeah, I think we all want to do it right. So if that means it takes a little longer for one piece than then that's,
Yeah,
It
and
does.
I was just looking through a couple of RFPs. I mean, that there's very few, with the exception of creating plans for, a 5-year plan or something like that. That timelines are pretty scant. And for a lot of the reasons that Eleanor mentioned, there's probably good reason why. So yeah, no, I mean, and that's kind of why I put that 5-year plan in there. I mean, we'll have to come up with our own plan just to get us to a certain spot, but certainly once we get to a certain spot, we can make a bigger plan. But yeah, I'm thinking this is going to be at least a 2 to 5 year, and then ongoing as well. So
I did like how the Columbia actually made a point of bringing up their comprehensive plan. So I don't know if we want to add something into the scope of work about, a recommendation for additions to the comprehensive plan or something like that.
yeah, that would definitely, we could put that in certainly before the create a citywide plan. Help develop a, yeah.
I think it's obvious that they need to be integrated and hopefully we can get some direction from them on how to include the results of the equity work with our long range and strategic planning.
So what are the next steps from here? Do we need to put any sort of thing together, kind of capturing all of the decisions we've just made?
Yeah, we need to finalize the language for the RFP.
Okay.
And
I'm doing that now. And I guess what I've heard is keep it like it is. I'm going to inject, help provide recommendations for a city comprehensive plan. And I'm going to put the audit piece into it too as well, but I'm just not sure exactly how to word that. I may word it that we're, I may put at the end and maybe an explanation of the scope of work that, we're looking to do this in a modular sense. And we're also looking at an audit process at any time during this process too as well. So I'll mix up some wording and send it out to everybody, and I'll share. Instead of sending a PDF, I'll share this as my Google Doc, so you can comment, add, delete, whatever you think is necessary. And once I kind of get that scope of work and descriptor, I can give it to, I guess I can give it to Anthony, right, Anthony?
Yes.
And I'm assuming that you could write our purpose statement for this, or should one of us do that?
I'm happy to volunteer for that.
Okay. Why don't we have Sarah write up a purpose statement? She can share that out in a Google Doc or something, and then we can all take a look at that. And then, because really those are the two pieces that Anthony needs to then plug into the legalese of the RFP. So.
And then there might be an opportunity in the proposers shall submit, and it outlines how the proposal needs to be outlined. That might be the place to lay out the modules, right? So like cover letter references, and then like how you would accomplish X task, how you would accomplish Y task. That might be the space for that. Columbia does a little bit of that, but it's more about like the literal documentation rather than like the exact thing you would put in the proposal.
would it be helpful if like each of the little sort of subjects was numbered or had a title, so that then you could say, please provide for each numbered paragraph, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Okay. I like that.
so we're looking for a cost, a scope of work broken down incrementally, a cost and a time associated with each of those scope items. Okay. That would be helpful. Is there other discussion? We have some assignments. And is there any other discussion on the equity issue here?
Yeah, just a quick thing. Should we make sure that this is on our agenda for the next meeting to kind of go over and make our final decision on what
Mhm.
it looks like? No,
While we're doing this, I'll just make this an active agenda
Yeah.
item. And then that way, if something comes up, you'll have it on there. If
Yep.
not, it could just be nothing to report, still gathering information.
Like,
Okay.
That old business thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we guys,
the
I
new
like it.
process. Yeah, thank you, Anthony.
Okay. Then at this point, we'll move on to the council communication. And, keep in mind that we can discuss, some of these issues in council communication also. Is there any specific council communication for this evening?
Yeah, and I'll real quick, I'll probably have what all the wording done and everything by tomorrow, and I'll send out the link, and then comment or add to it or wherever you want to do. I mean, again, these have revision control and all that, so it's not a big deal, but comment and we'll make this a living working document until we get it right. So,
Appreciate you doing that.
yeah.
I do have something for council communication, if that's all right.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so after our meeting on Saturday and laying out this process, I would like to share with you all a policy idea I have. I would like for this council to take up legislation decriminalizing marijuana possession in Maplewood. This is something our neighbors in Webster Groves did in March of this year. This is something the city of St. Louis did back in 2013. Additionally, prosecuting attorney Wesley Bell has really gotten specific on the types of marijuana possession he would actually prosecute. And then in the past couple weeks or so, the US House of Representatives passed legislation attempting to decriminalize it at the federal level. However, I don't have a lot of faith that the Senate will take it up anytime soon. And this is something too that the ACLU in particular has studied. So this is data driven, it is equitable. The usage rates of marijuana between white people and Black and brown people are essentially the same, but Black and brown people at the nationally are 3.73 times more likely to be arrested or cited for this. And in 2010, of all of the arrests for marijuana possession in St. Louis County, Black residents made up 51.9% of them. Additionally, just from a prevention standpoint, there's not a lot of good evidence suggesting that criminalizing something prevents people from doing it. If instead we were interested in, preventing or decreasing the amount of marijuana usage in Maplewood, I would encourage us to take a more educational approach rather than a criminal approach. So I think there could be an interesting opportunity for us to engage the school board if we wanted to, but criminalizing isn't really decreasing the rates of usage in any way. I also think, especially with the recent events at the Boost Mobile store and generally, with property crime being something of concern of our residents, this is an opportunity for us to more effectively divert police resources to crimes that need to be addressed. And additionally, just with other budget concerns that we're starting to, hear more about with COVID-19, this might be an opportunity for us to identify an efficiency. So my main request today is that we look into, or that we, take up legislation decriminalizing marijuana possession, but also if we could ask our city attorney to look into our authority to expunge any records for folks who've been charged or convicted of marijuana possession in Maplewood.
I love it, Sarah. I think that's a great idea. I think especially in light of the fact that marijuana legalization, it's already medicinally legal in Missouri, and I'm sure recreation will be soon to follow. So I'm interested in pursuing that personally.
Yeah, I'm supportive of that.
I'm supportive as well.
Makes sense to me.
I like it.
Yep.
Mhm.
Sweet. Well, I have a 200-page document from the ACLU if any of you would like to read it. And I
Well,
do-
why don't you share it with us and then we'll, yeah. Doesn't hurt to share.
Yeah, and then I have some sample legislation just copied from Webster Groves, if that's helpful as well to send to our city attorney's office.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be.
Okay, I can do both of those things.
That would be great, Sarah.
Yeah, we were some of the first municipalities to have ordinances for medical marijuana, and to make sure I wanted to make sure that we had the ordinances in place so people weren't left in the dark if they were going to do a dispensary or manufacture or grow or whatever. So no, I think it's a great idea and obviously long overdue. So.
Okay. Is there other council communication?
Actually, I had a question. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, set a date for our next session, December 12th meeting. We were going to set a date for the next meeting, I guess.
Yeah, so we can finish up the agenda from our.
Yeah. What did we call that agenda? I didn't really have a name on it. It's a work
The
session.
kitchen sink. I think you call it the kitchen sink.
Yeah. there. Anyway, I think we were going to set a date for finishing that up if we can, after the holidays.
Let's see. Do we want to do it on a weekend again, or would we prefer to do it in an off week on a Tuesday night?
I like this Saturday morning. I mean, that wasn't bad.
It's fine by me.
Yeah, I mean, a few hours on a Saturday is
Yeah.
preferable, I think, to doing it in the evening.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right, so.
yeah, that's good.
So this Saturday, just kidding.
No,
Just kidding.
Not this Saturday.
I'm just kidding. All right.
well, is the 9th anything for anybody?
January 9th.
I'm free.
I just rescheduled a haircut.
What about the 16th? Because that's in between. Because that gives us then another week before we have another council meeting
Yeah.
with 16th or 23rd.
16th works for me.
I'm wide open.
16th fine for me.
There's
At
a
9
slim,
o'clock again.
I will be
Wait,
gone.
Eleanor, what
I'll
were
be
you
gone
saying,
the-
Eleanor?
there's a slim chance I'll be traveling that day. I don't know yet though, but don't plan around it.
Tentatively,
Anthony, are you gone? Did you
I
say?
will be, but that you guys schedule it. I mean, that'll be fine. I can record it.
I feel like our joint presence
Yeah.
is very, very
I think it's
important.
better. We move it to the 23rd. Does anybody care?
I'm gonna be gone for a week then, so if that's
Okay.
possible. And again, I could, the 9th or the 30th is fine with me.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up the 9th again.
Okay, well, 9th is good with me.
Sandy, what time's your
I don't think
haircut?
Sandy could do the 9th.
Well,
What time?
again, it's at 10, so smack dab in the middle. But I just had to reschedule it today because she's out of town. It was supposed to be the previous, so I don't think it'll be a problem to reschedule.
Okay.
So,
I've got a pair of scissors if it,
uh-huh.
I was gonna say, we can make you look real good.
I have a Flowbee.
I was gonna say that, Sean.
I really do have one of those. Do you
Is
have
that
one, Ray
right?
Sean?
Is
Do you really have
I
one?
did have one at one point, but I threw it away because it's worthless. So
I thought it worked great. That's how I cut my kids' hair. I
That's-
still have it.
If you did not already know this, that's how George Clooney cuts his hair, and he's
Yeah.
been doing
Yeah, I
it for
saw
like 30 years.
It's great for little kids. You don't have to worry about picking up all the hair. Just look at the shop vac. All right, so we're looking at the 9th at, are we saying 9 a.m. to noon again?
Yeah.
Works.
Then I had something I wanted to ask about if we're. So I noticed I've read some articles, sort of like national articles and stuff about how rates of shoplifting are increasing because people need food and formula or they're homeless. And I've noticed in a few reports that maybe there's been some incidents in Maplewood. And so I was curious if, the police, if they are, or if we can in those cases, like maybe provide people who's, are saying that their reason that they shoplifted was because they're homeless or because, they don't have enough to eat, would be to provide them resources or direction to some of our community resources. I don't know if they're doing that yet or.
I'm not sure, but I can check with the police to find out.
That would be great. Thank you.
And so we're thinking about just trying to make sure they have some alternative resources.
Right. Like I don't want to penalize someone because the choice they had to make because they needed to feed their family or give formula to their baby is, to shoplift it, to criminalize that. Like it'd be nice to then instead refer them to, a place where they can get that help. So they don't have to, they're not faced with that choice. Again.
I would assume they do, but I'm not sure, so I'll find out.
Cool, thank you.
They usually a lot of times they do, at least whenever there's, whether it's substance abuse or if there's mental illness or something of those natures. We have so many CIT trained officers that they usually do have provide a good list of services. I just don't know about this case.
Yeah, and they may be. I just wanted to see. I think that would be great.
I'll find out.
Thank you.
Real quick, just to follow up from Saturday, the work session related to the website updates. Anthony, were you going to generate that Google Doc?
I was. We're talking about on the on
26th.
January 20th, and I did have a long discussion with Laura beforehand, which I'm going to probably send an email out to you shortly. I told her to give me an update on everything. I think once you see everything she's already working on, the Google Doc may be necessary still, at least for short term, but she's going to be replacing this shortly. And when I say shortly, within the next few months. So the meeting on January 20th may not be necessary once you see what she's working on. I think it's better for her to write it out so you can actually see it. So we'll make that decision either via email as you see what she's been given. We'll still do the Google Doc, and then we'll decide on, I guess it's the January 12th, if you still want to hold that work session on the 26th. And if not, we have other items we could maybe do a work session on. But I believe once you hear everything she's doing, you'll probably be happy that she's been working on it for a while and that change is coming to that website, which means a complete revision.
Okay.
But I want to make sure to address Eleanor's concerns before we go out for advertisement we'll still need to make some changes to what we have now.
Right.
Other communication?
No, I hope everybody has happy holidays because we won't be meeting again till after the holidays.
Yes, and happy Hanukkah to everyone who celebrates. We are in the middle of Hanukkah right now.
Yeah.
Fifth night, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mayor's report. I asked if Anthony could include links on our website. Cameron, Spire, MSD, and Missouri American Water all have financial assistance programs for people affected by COVID. And it would be of major benefit, especially to our senior citizens, but anyone that's been negatively impacted by the financial situation lately. I'd like for them to understand that there are resources from the utilities themselves. And since it's at the end of the year, I also want to remind our citizens that they can utilize the services of TAP St. Louis, which is tax assistance preparation. It's a free program, and we'll have the link to that on our website too. But we need to do everything that we can for our citizens to help them financially. And there are resources out there, and I was going to start with these. And so if you know of any other ones, forward those to Anthony. I looked at, there's a rent assistance program, but it's a private program, and I don't know how helpful it is. But Sarah, you might be aware of other resources available through the county that we would like to make sure that our residents have links to.
Yeah, I'll keep my eyes open.
Okay. And that's my report. City Attorney's report,
No report, Mayor.
City Manager's report.
Just a few quick things. Believe it or not, our rescue truck should be here in the next few weeks. Now, this deadline has been pushed back and then pushed back and pushed back, but Terry has actually seen it. So we've actually had to go there several times, because if we weren't going there, we were getting no updates. We weren't getting photos. By showing up, Terry's done put a lot of pressure on to make sure that we're not being neglected. So should have been here in August and then again in November, but we believe it'll be here the first week of January. So that's going to be nice to have that. We talked briefly about minutes, and City Attorney Hessel will be in next month if you have additional questions, but he's very comfortable and agrees with the format we have as far as the amount of information. His exact words were mentioned, they call them minutes for a reason. I talked to him about the possibility of uploading the transcripts from Zoom, which he said we could absolutely do, but we'd have to obviously work on a disclaimer. I mentioned what we're going to do tonight as far as times, where I'm going to go ahead and list the times on our actual minutes. And then that way, when people are referring to our video links, they can easily refer back. So for example, tonight I did it before the first resolution, the first ordinance, the community service discussion, the racial equity discussion, and then when council communication started. I think if anyone wants to try to get a gist of what the meeting is, I think that should be pretty good. But as these minutes come to you, if you still want to see changes, that's fine. If we want to explore the Zoom transcript option, that's fine.
Let me just jump in here real quick about the transcripts, because I actually have done some work on this. The other one I haven't tried is the actual Zoom cloud transcript product, but I have tried it against and paid for it myself, the three best out there, and it absolutely butchers it. I mean, it would require a lot of work in order to get that to something readable. Just my last name alone, it was brutal. It was actually pretty funny, but I'm not sure you'd want to put that up.
That's fine. I'm not sure whose idea it was about the time on the minutes, but somebody had that idea, and that should actually, I hope that would alleviate it. Plus, John's comment was, well, you already have a video transcript, which is basically the highest and best standard you could have. And then that's when I explained, someone suggested the time on the minutes, and that should, I hope that alleviates concerns. But he'll be at the next meeting if you have additional questions, comments, or concerns for City Attorney Hessel.
Now let's start with the timestamp.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I've spoken with John and I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't have the conversation with Jackie. I apologize, Jackie.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm curious. I think it's helpful, right, that we've confirmed that we're complying with the Sunshine Law and like baseline requirements of minutes. I would like to say though that that's the floor still, not the ceiling. So I think the timestamps are a step forward for people who can, you know, who aren't exclusively relying on reading. But if someone has to rely on reading only, I think our minutes could still be a better resource for them. And so I'm interested in continuing that conversation.
Yeah, and I think that would be a good one to have with him, to be honest with you, or with Jackie. Because again, I'll do what I can, but right now I'm going on with legal advice for this.
So maybe it'd be helpful if I sent out some examples that I saw, and then everyone can look at them and compare them to ours. And I mean, I only looked at a couple, but I'll do a little more research and sort of, because I'm with Sarah, not to me, it's not helpful for a minute to not describe even basically sort of what was asked, or what, you know what I mean? Or even just, and I'm not saying that none of them do, but just some of the things when we discuss them, I feel like it doesn't really get to even the most basic points of what the council discussed. And I think that's an important element maybe for the public. So anyway, I'll send
And
examples.
whatever is decided is fine with
Yeah,
me.
no,
I just want to
get
make
it, and I'm
sure.
not,
Yeah, I just
yeah,
want to make sure
and-
you at least hear
sure,
his
yeah,
reasoning. And when I had mentioned, hey, every attorney I've ever talked to has said, less is more on something like this. You don't want to capture basically every discussion. You just kind of want to get the actual item and the action that took place. And so I wanted to make sure because I assumed, I actually thought John was going to be here, but then he mentioned he had a conflict. I wanted to make sure if that he knew we had this discussion Saturday. And I said, this is how the discussion went. And again, at that time, he said, that's fine the way you're doing it. But I think it's better to actually talk with him after you have that discussion with him. If we need to make changes, that's totally fine.
yeah, I mean, and we can talk with, I mean, I'm sure Jackie can do it too. So, but I think the helpful piece would be to maybe give you examples of what I was describing. And so everyone can see it. And then we could have a discussion about why or why not that may not work. Does that
Okay.
make?
Absolutely. And whatever the council wants, after they talk with Jackie or John, that's fine. I was just conveying what the advice.
Thank
I've
you
been-
for following up on that.
Yeah. And then the last item, or Jackie, did you have anything to add on that?
I don't know if you guys want to look, but the baseline is in chapter 610.020, number 7. And that describes sort of what's absolutely minimum required. And it's really just the time, the date, the members present, any votes taken. That's really it. It's bare minimum. So just so you know, that's what the Sunshine Law requires.
Thank you.
And thanks, Jackie. And the last thing was, we talked about notice, and I sent it out a little later because I got it from Laura. I talked with her about what we do for advertising our Zoom link on our website. If anyone didn't have a chance to look at it, basically the link is on the homepage, which refers you to the city council page. I thought the city council link, she included screenshots too. I thought that was okay because it's in blue, it's underlined, it says click here. I believe what Sean wanted the font change is under the announcements, which you can see she's working to get that done to make it, bolded, underlined, larger font. So it's included on the homepage, the city council page, the news and announcements page. The link is actually included on our Facebook page as well. She sent a screenshot of that can be clicked, and that goes out on our Facebook page at 3 p.m. on the Monday before the meeting. And at 3 p.m. the Monday before the meeting, we send out 2 separate email blasts as well where the link is included. So roughly 5 different locations. I'm including the link on the homepage as a spot. If after everyone takes a look at that email in a little bit more detail, aside from modifying the font, maybe underlining, bolding, making the link a little more noticeable on the announcements page, if there's something else anyone wants to see, just please hit reply all. I included Laura on that email, so then that way we'll make sure we address any concerns anyone has.
So I just tried to do it from Facebook and it takes me to the city page, but then the link is not clickable there. So just as an FYI.
Okay. I'll let her know.
Okay.
So just when you get a chance,
Yeah.
look at those. I just want to make sure if people are trying to get on the meeting that it's accessible. And like I said,
Thank
whatever you guys want, we'll do.
Okay. Is there anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Item number 20 is the second public forum. Does anyone have their hand raised?
Yeah, at this point, if you want to speak at this public forum, you can just use the raise your hand function and we'll let you speak. And as of right now, no hands are up, Mayor.
Okay. I don't believe we need a motion to hold a closed session.
So, sir.
Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Bye.
Hi.
Meeting is adjourned.